the front. Our other host is Anya Johnson here. She is a CGI partner as well in our Salesforce practice, director of consulting and a solution architect. And last but not least, our presenters today are also going to be Miss Anya Johnson with CGI and Mr. Ed Schlesinger. So he is coming into the camera. There you go.
Schlesinger.
Schlesinger. You would think from Louisiana I could pronounce really hard last names, but yeah. So Ed is here from Elements Cloud, which is the product that's going to be demonstrated today by both Ed and Anya. So we're very excited to have Ed here in person, all the way from New Jersey. New Jersey. Thank you so much for coming. So you guys are in for a treat. This is going to be a really great demonstration. This product is amazing, and they're going to show you things that it can do both with Salesforce and just on its own, just in general. So enjoy, please eat your lunch, and I'm going to pass it over to Anya.
So before we dive into the demo, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about Elements and what it is and what it can do. When I first started trying to demo this for clients and stuff, it was a little difficult because there's so much that it does. So I finally figured out an easy way to explain it. It's basically a platform that you can run your Salesforce COEO for the entire life cycle of everything you're doing. That's like the easiest way to explain it, I think. But I'm gonna let Ed go into a little bit more details about the company and the background of how we got to this point.
You all can read. First of all, my name is Ed Schlesinger. Once again, and yes, when Anya said come down, absolutely. She's a wonderful supporter, and by the way, she's going to be doing more of the demo. You all can read what this is about. Here are some the clients that we've had success with. Is Salesforce up there? Yes, it is good. Okay, Salesforce has 1,000 licenses that they use on a daily basis. Excuse me, and been around now for, I think it's 6 years. One of the people who started the United States side of this, main offices in the United Kingdom. And that's really it. I mean, we are running to technical architects, business analysts, and also developers and users as well. But as people getting into AI, they're all in before they can take advantage, and that's what we talk to. You call it something in the changing intelligence.
Yeah, changes.
Right? Instead of changing things around and nobody knows what it means. It's just when you change, what is it going to protect? And I'm going to go through that. I'm going too long, right? And it's all about building the right thing, building it correctly. A lot of us walk in, it's just, how many of you sit in a discovery and start solutioning when you're hearing what you just can't do that. I mean, it's so hard not to, but you can. So that's what we really do. Okay, so the purple is where we live. Right over here, capturing requirements, creating what do they call it? Stories, okay, off of a dynamically created visualization of your implementation. Dependencies, if you change this, what's going to happen down the road, and then we get it over to the design people, test and deploy. It's just standard agile project map. All the documentation, however, is centralized in one place. It could be all from PDFs, it could be out on anything, PowerPoint, anything else, but everything is centralized and contextually linked to the business process.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go into a little bit of a demo here. I'll cover 3 major areas of Elements Cloud. There's a ton out there. I'm going to try to highlight some of the most common used things, at least for me, and then also some of it. So we're going to go into the Analytics 360 first, then the metadata dictionary, and then we're going to go to app. And within the app, we're going to focus on the diagram and change, although I will kind of aspect of that. And then going to focus on all the cool AI capabilities. And then we'll come back and Elvis for Agent Force, Ed's going to speak to that a little bit, but I'm going to also actually demo the Agent Finder on the diagrams. Okie dokie. Let's go demo. All right. Let me go to Elements. Okay. So this is the Analytics 360, and it's exactly like what it sounds like. It's a big old dashboard with a whole lot of information. Also, within any of these little dashboard components, you can download it straight to a CSV and get the specifics. So for example, if say I'm on a project and we're gonna want to deploy in a couple of months, well, I can come in here and I can see what's going on. I've got 71.4% of my flows do not have sufficient fault coverage. So I could download this right away and immediately, hand that over to the consultants and say, hey, y'all go fix these flows before we try to deploy. Just one example of how you could use it. Another good area is the technical debt, like inactive metadata. Super easy to clean up, right? It's inactive. Why is it there? It's just junking up your org. But anyway, so there's a ton of information here. I'm not going to go through every single one, obviously, because we don't have time. But one thing to note is on their website, you can actually get information about each of these areas, in greater detail. And then also some of them, even though it looks like it's like one component, it's not. So for this one, for example, there's like 16 different things I can look at that for an object, right? So I could look at those, and I could also look at it by this sort of variation as well. So this one component gives you, I don't know, whatever the permutation is of that, a lot of information basically. So that's Analytics 360. Okay. This is our metadata dictionary. So this is literally a library of all of the metadata from the org that we are synced to. And just to note, and I'll kind of show you all this later, but you can sync to more than one org in one workspace. So for instance, you could have your production org, your full sandbox, your partial sandbox, dev sandbox, what have you, all in one workspace, which is really nice, especially when you're, going through different environments and constantly pushing stuff out. Navigation is just basically pretty straightforward. You can scroll, take a look at things, go click on something you want to look at. The right side panel is going to keep changing depending on what I've clicked on or not clicked on. So if I go look at the org level, you can see the KPIs that I see here are specific to an org. If I go to an object, which I will in just a moment, we're going to see things that are specific to an object and so forth. If I look at field, that kind of thing. So along with scrolling, I can also make my own custom list views. And within these, I can actually sort, filter, and even control what columns show up. Because if I'm trying to analyze triggers, I might want to see different columns than if I'm looking at fields, right? So this is great. I go in here right away and I kind of set up the ones I know I'm going to be looking at. And again, you can download that as well. The other way you can navigate is you can actually come over here, and I'm going to go down to object. La la la. My mouse is acting funny. There we go. And this is a CPQ org. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the quote object. And I just grab it right there. And you'll notice the side panel has changed. And now there's things that are specific to an object. Just at a glance, I can see. And then we're going to dig into these other little tabs in just a moment. One thing to note, this side panel and all this functionality, if you add an extension to Chrome, you see this in Salesforce setup on whatever you're on. So you don't have to keep going back and forth. Another way you can see it is if you are using Jira and you've connected Jira to Elements, you'll see the side panel there as well, which is really cool. I mean, just at a glance, you can get to it. All righty, so let's go ahead and take a look at here. We'll start with documentation. So you can see I already have some notes associated with this, the quote process notes. I can also see that it's associated to 2 different diagrams. So I can link pieces of metadata to diagrams, to user stories, and so forth. So that way, everything in Elements is sort of like connected. So if I'm on a user story, I can see that the quote object is connected, right? Or if I'm on the diagram, I can see that.
and then I can see it when I'm actually on that piece of metadata. I could also create basically custom fields inside elements, the meta fields, if I needed to document or tag something, specifically for that particular project I'm on. I'm gonna come back to insights because that's like my favorite place to stay. Changes, this is going to be your user stories and your requirements. I could very easily just add some manually right there. You can see I already have 2 of them associated. I also have some feedback. We'll discuss feedback when we get into the changes section, but that's pretty cool too. Okay, and there's other things you can click on, but those were kind of like the big areas. Insights, this is where I spend a lot of my time, especially if I'm about to build something. I'm going to come here and I'm going to check out what am I about to like step in, right? Especially in some of these older orgs, you really don't know what's going on in there. So just quickly at a glance, I can see all the various areas, it's being used and the names of those things, but I can go deeper and I can look at the dependency explorer tree. I love this thing. It's actually honestly has saved my what several times. So at first glance, you can see that it's basically just a visual representation of what we were already looking at. One thing to note, you'll notice right here, this particular flow, there's no plus sign right on the little circle. That means that's it. That guy doesn't have any more dependencies down the line. If I click on here, you can see that there are additional dependencies for this particular element. Now, sometimes not a big deal, it's still not going to impact your build, but you want to go here and see what's going on because a lot of times you might have 2 or 3 flows kind of connecting down the line. And, you might have to go look at those before you start building and changing major things, on the front end, so to speak. So this is extremely useful. The other thing I really enjoy about this area is that if I want to, I can click on any of those other elements and that side panel is going to change. So I don't have to go back out into the metadata dictionary and search for that particular item. So I can do all my investigation just from this one tree for, this specific build, sorry. All right, we're back to the quote here. All right. Another thing under insights that I really love is the access. So again, it's going to tell you kind of high level, which profiles, permission sets, and so forth give some sort of access to the quote object. But again, I can go deeper and I can analyze this access. And this is actually going to give me the users, what access they actually have, and what permission controller is giving them that access. This is game changing, y'all. Like when you go into an org that's got like 8,000 users and it's been around for like 10 plus years and multiple Salesforce teams and partners, and it's a hot mess. This helps you very quickly figure out what's going on. I mean, you could do it painstakingly manually, but think about that. Like this one client, I actually did an elements blueprint for them. They had the 8,000 users and like 347 permission sets. I forget how many profiles. Like it would have been a nightmare to get through. But this allowed me to kind of very quickly figure out what was going on. I could also come here and say, okay, maybe I just only want to look at people with modify all or so forth, or maybe I only want to look at a certain profile. So really great. You can also export it pretty much like everything else in Elements.
Okay.
Sure.
And this is the way to right size the way Salesforce screwed up designing. We shouldn't say that. Salesforce screwed up designing profiles and permission set. And now their attempt to make it better. It should look like when you see profiles, permission sets, and then groups, it should be like a D. All right, there should be small profiles, a bunch of permission sets, and a few amounts of groups, and that's what this solves. I think we also have a heat map that shows similarities.
Yeah. There's also, I'm actually going to show that in a moment. There's also ways where you can actually compare profiles down to the nitty gritty. I actually had a real world issue where I had to use that because they had a platform license profile and we needed them to be a Salesforce for this, this implementation we were doing. And you can't clone that and switch the license type. You have to create another profile. So we were able to do it that way and compare and see exactly what we needed to add without, painstakingly going through the profile itself. So that was really, really helpful. One other thing to note before I get out of the metadata dictionary, there are a bunch of reports. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I just kind of want to show you real quick. Again, on the website, there's information about all these reports and what they do. I am going to, however, show you my absolute favorite report. Now, I know it's small, but I'm going to show you something else in a moment. But basically, this is your permission controller similar matrix. So this actually sounds like it's a matrix in a comparison, and I did some little additional formatting to make it colorful. But long story short, it's saying that these two guys over there, right, are identical to this guy, and apparently this guy, and so forth, like 100% identical. Like this is teams not talking or something, or not very good management to begin with. But this particular report, although extremely useful, it's a little bit cumbersome to digest. So we wrote a Python script and turned it into this way. So it's a lot easier to look at, right? And then we cut it off at like, I think 85% or above, and then handed that to the client because they wanted to start getting rid of their technical debt right away. And just to kind of hone it in and make y'all see what I'm talking about here. So this, I basically did a pivot table on the ones that were 100% identical. So out of 104, in this case, permission sets, those can be reduced immediately to 24, and likely less than 24 because probably some of those for 100% as well. Yeah, you got to do the work, but taking people off one permission set and shoving them in another one isn't super difficult, right? So this is an easy way to very quickly get some cleanup with that technical debt. It's going to make the Salesforce administrator's life a lot more pleasant, let's say. All right, let's go back over here. The other report I do enjoy, I think I have it saved. Let me go grab it real quick, is the, I just call it dangerous permissions report, but it's audit users with dangerous permission. It's got a long name. But basically this, again, in these old orgs, very quickly is going to show you system security, data security, stuff like that, like high level permissions and who has them and how they're getting them. So a lot of times, you know, you inherited an org, whether you're client side or you're consulting, and tons of users, you don't really know what's going on and who all has this, right? This is a really quick way to see who has what and if they should keep it. So really good report there. Okie dokie. Nope, this guy. Okay, so you can see this is the home dashboard, and they've recently added this nice little, I guess, guided experience, if you will, to where depending on what you're doing, you can just click there and go. I've been using Elements since, I don't know.
5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years. So I already know where to go. So we're just going to do that. But this is great for new users. Okay, so let me go over the side. This is the app area within Elements. So we're at home. The AI agents, Ed's going to speak to that later. We're going to come back to diagrams and changes. That's what we're going to focus on. The Salesforce metadata, this is how I got to the metadata dictionary and then to Analytics 360. I only have one org connected here because this is just a partner SEO org. But if I was doing client, I would have the multiple environments here. You can also control when it syncs. And there's also a managed package that you can get even additional information when it comes to like security and stuff that will sync back to Elements. Reference models and URL library that kind of like house content. I'm going to kind of skip over that for now. And then release management is exactly what it sounds like. The only difference with Elements is it's going to have all that metadata. So all the metadata that you have associated to your user stories, your requirements, your diagrams, all of the diagrams, all of that can be packaged into that release and published. So once it's published, that's your as is, right? And then say you start phase 2 of the project, you go into those diagrams in draft mode and start making your to-be process. And then when you're done with that, you publish that release. And then that's the new, you know, Bible or whatever, if you will. So the release management's pretty cool. Okay, so for diagrams, I'm going to kind of go into a diagram first, show you a little bit of AI functionality, and then I'm going to come back over all the various ways to create diagrams and some of their, I'll call it, I don't know, AI squared, like super cool stuff. All right, but we're going to start with the this guy. Okay, so before I do this, let me kind of say one thing about Elements. So Elements goes off of or follows the UPN methodology. So that's Universal Process Notation.
There's a whole lot of stuff, in general, out on the web, right? But also on elements.com, where it talks about what is UPN, how should you do it, what are best practices, that sort of thing. But this is a Cliff Notes version. So basically it's bird oriented, right? What is happening? When it's happening, why is it happening? Who's doing it and who's responsible and what systems are they using? Whether it's Salesforce or not, doesn't matter, right? And then also, if you see a little blue guy up here, that means that there's a child diagram. So it lets you kind of go level, several levels down. I don't even think there's a
Yeah, there's,
limit, no
by the way, there's one, graphic, it's a box. That's it. There are no triangles, there are no circles, there are no, anything like that. So it's for the business user. And if you really step back and look at that, it's the components of the user story.
It's a lot cleaner than, for me, I think, than looking at a process chart that has swim lanes and all that. Like this, you're just taking up too much real estate on the page at that point. This is just boom, you can see everything that's going on. What I especially love about it, and I feel like they must have heard my prayers, it creates user stories for you and acceptance criteria. I absolutely despise writing user stories. That is the most boring thing on the face of the earth, okay? Now, documenting processes, that's fun. So if you do it and you follow the methodology, well, like that with the click of a button, it even will do multiple inputs and outputs as well as additional like multiple personas. So this saves a tremendous, huge amount of time. And it saves my sanity.
And also when it comes to writing user stories. Triple dental procedure, right?
Yeah.
And the big problem is procrastination. You sit down, you know your mind's gonna be numb, and it's 11:45, I'll have lunch a little early today, and you walk away, and you come back, and this gives you 50–60% of the user story. It's going to be edited by someone else anyway.
I think it gives you more than that, to be honest. And honestly, best practice, Ed, is if you need to edit your user story, you go back and you edit your diagram because you missed something. You're not doing UPN quite right. But guess what? Elements just came out with another thing to help you with that. You can actually check your diagram to make sure it's adhering to UPN methodology. And this guy, he found something, so he doesn't like, where is this? Doesn't like that. Yeah, no, this is brand new.
Okay.
And you could just click check and it'll update your diagram for you. Oh, well, okay. I think I already did that. There's also an agent finder in that same little area. I go to edit first. And this actually, honestly, they should have called it automation finder, but it's agent force world now, right? So we got to call it agent finder, but it will actually tell you, do you actually need an agent? Okay. In this case, it's suggesting, yeah, you need an agent. And if you want, it'll update the diagram to indicate that's your to-be process, right? You need to use an agent. If you don't need an agent, like in this case, it's say you need a prompt template and a flow. Prompt template and a flow. And then on some of the others, and I'll show you when I get to those diagrams, it'll say, no, you just need a flow. You don't need to go full agent on this guy, So that's really helpful. So going back to the diagram, we'll go, like if I click on here, you can see kind of,
Are you in the edit?
yeah. So the resources that are at the bottom, remember the little graphic I was showing you? Resources can be human, obviously Salesforce metadata. It can also be any other system. You can create your own resources. So, SAP, Oracle, Outlook, whatever. It can be a facility. I feel like I'm missing one. There's one other one. But anyways.
It gives you your racing
Yeah.
chart.
If the resource is human, you can also indicate their role on the RACI, which this part I love because when you're looking at this diagram, instead of all those stupid swim lanes, I can immediately see who is accountable and who and what systems are being used and such.
And this is a report for that as well.
Yes, there is. Yep. So that part is really cool. I happen to like my resources color coded. They don't come like that by default. It just helps me see. So I apply a theme, and yes, you can do themes on all these things. So you can control the font, colors, all of that. You notice here, I have a child diagram, and I could click on that and go into it. You can also connect two diagrams together where there's a link, but they're not technically the same diagram. What I like about this is a lot of times when you're on a project, let's say you've got a huge project going, and not everyone on the project is going to be part of requirements gathering. So they're going to get to their desk and all they're going to see is this JIRA ticket. They're just, going to do that. What about if they could look at the JIRA ticket, and the JIRA ticket, because they're using elements, is going to let them know this diagram is here, and they can go look at it. They're going to see how the field and the business process need to come together, instead of just, oh, I need to build this thing that they told me. They're going to start actually thinking about the business process while they're building. And that is a glorious thing. A lot of times someone will be like, well, actually, we might should do it this way because they're understanding it in the context of the business. To me, that's a game changer. The other thing with the diagrams is you want to have 8 to 12 boxes per page as best practice. But like the first level, if you will, that's what you show stakeholders. They don't need to see all the nitty gritty. The nitty gritty is going to go to the actual business users or to the people doing the build, like I was just saying. So very nice there. Oh yeah, okay. All right, so if I wanted to, I could create actual requirements from here and or user stories. And I could do it manually, just like I could do from that other stuff we saw when we were in the metadata dictionary. But I'm going to do it with AI instead. And I could have done it for the whole diagram. For this demo, I'm just going to do this one box. I can select which requirement it's going to go under and which release. I don't have to, but I can.
Oh, and by the way, everything here is, there are snapshots when you change things. What's it called?
Change log.
Yeah, right.
So it's generating those stories for me, but I'm gonna go ahead and you can see there's already some here. I'm gonna go ahead and just kick on over there. Alrighty. Okay, so here's some user stories. I'm gonna go ahead and look at one here. All right, so now you can see we've got our user story and we have our acceptance. Well, guess what? There's more. Because Elements is connected to Salesforce's well-architected framework, I can ask Elements, how should I implement this? And it's going to go look at that in context of this specific Salesforce org it's connected to. And it's going to tell me, again, this you want to, anything AI, you want to read it, right? Make sure it makes sense. And then if you have maybe some junior folks on your team, maybe you put a little more context in there. But I mean, it gets you pretty much 80% of the way there. So this just, again, very helpful, speeds up everything. Basically, all in all, like all this stuff that's giving you efficiencies and all this AI, it's acceleration to value is really what you're getting out of using Elements. Okay, so the other thing I really love about the user stories is it will throw a flag. Those are the red things. If you have more than one user story, open user story that's connected to the same piece of metadata, it's going to throw a flag. So picture you're at a huge company, you've got multiple work streams, and maybe the sales cloud team is not really on the service cloud team, but they're sharing objects. So this is a great way to kind of go through all of those conflicts. Are they truly conflicts? So is it something we need to talk about? Are they contradictory to each other? Or maybe you can work them as one story and gain more efficiency. So this, I think, is really great because I've been on projects where there's just massive teams and, no one's talking to anyone basically. But if you go over to Insights, you can see your conflicts. You can see, which one it is. And you can see, like, I had another conflict and I resolved it. So you can actually update it. And then as you mark it resolved, you can say, like, why it was resolved, which I'll discuss. And then once they're all resolved, that's the point where you would either start working the stories and or if you're using JIRA, you would have the integration go straight up to JIRA. But you don't want to send the conflicts over. You want to work through those first. So that's, to me, is a big deal because I've been on projects where there's like 20 people on each team and then multiple teams, and it's just, it can get out of hand. So we also have requirements, which, it's requirements or epics, depending on what, term you want to use. And then we also have feedback. So feedback, and we saw that when we were in the metadata dictionary as well, feedback is for the users. So the users on any record while they're in Salesforce can click on an icon and leave feedback specific to that record, that page, that everything. and they can, suggest things.
Even down to the field, I believe. Down to the field level, yeah.
No, I
No?
don't think so.
Okay.
But that would be great.
I think it
Or
does,
maybe,
though.
maybe there is, and I don't know how to set it up.
Alright.
But anyway, so this is at the page level, and it actually will give you the link so you can go exactly where that user was. And then you can decide, am I going to promote this up to a requirement or to a user story? This drives adoption, y'all. I mean, this is great. Like at any time of their day and they're working and they can just boom, send feedback. And a lot of times you don't want a whole lot from you. They want to tweak. And if you can do it, then they're like, oh, but I made them do. They're listening to me, so like they're going to want to give you more and more feedback. So it's a really great way to kind of help with that adoption. All right, let's go back to diagrams. And so you saw how I, already had that particular one. Oh, wait, actually, let me grab one thing real quick. Shots. Okay. Okay, I got this. I asked Gemini, hey, give me a process diagram for manufacturing cell site, whatever. But pretend you got this from, the client's old documentation, or maybe they did this in PowerPoint or, whatever. It's not UPN, but you don't want to like sit there and recreate the world, right? Well, I can come over here and before I do that, obviously you can create diagrams from scratch. Yeah. And then templates. They have a library out there and they're always adding more. In fact, that first diagram we looked at, that was their service cloud template. Another thing you can do with that is you go grab that because that's going to be the generic, hey, I just got a new Salesforce org. That's going to be what that is, right? And then you start tweaking it once you're, figuring out what's different for your client. So it saves you time there as well. We're going to come back to the process and data model, but let's go into the AI piece. So what I could do here is I could either use natural language and I could say, hey, show me the sales process from lead to order. And it will generate a diagram based on the context of this org and kind of spit it out. But I can also upload a file. So I'm gonna go grab that little image we just looked at. So this is, you took a screenshot of something. Maybe you're doing a whiteboard session, and y'all are drawing on it. Or hell, maybe you're at the bar and y'all having a few drinks and like, oh, now we know how we need to change that process. Draw it on a napkin, take a picture of the napkin, upload it into Elements. And it's going to generate that like 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how complex it is, but it does a really good job. And then, you just go back and tweak it how you need to. Waiting for AI. So after this, we're going to go look at some of the newest ones, the org to process, which is their process configuration mining. And then the org to data model, I'm just going to show you one I already had because that one does take a little bit more time because you have to like select each object and stuff, but it'll actually give you an EORD with all the connections. It was taking time because it knew I needed water. So from that little image I got from another AI, Elements AI is just creating it for me in UPN notation. So pretty sweet. I love this. All right, let's go back.
You can take your list shots up to a point. Okay, it's not perfect.
That's still beta though.
I'm sorry?
Isn't that still beta?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do as good a job as what you just saw right now. Because this chart has those swim lanes, has all those different.
It depends. Like sometimes like I'll have just regular, I never use swim lanes. I hate them probably more than user stories. But if you don't have the swim lanes,
it really feels.
It does an excellent job if there's no swim lanes. And you can also import via JSON. And I think there's something else they're working on too. I vaguely remember. I don't know.
You might know more than me.
All right, so org to data model. I'm not going to generate that one. I'll just show y'all what it ends up looking like.
This is the EOD that's coming up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I had it like rearranged or whatever, but this is just CPQ EORD. I basically said which objects I wanted, and then it spit it out with all their various relationships. And then org to process. I already have one created, but I'm going to show you how we, go do it. Like that. Now you can ask it a question like, like their example is, how do we manage cells? I happen to know if you just type in the object you want, it does the same thing. Okay, and then I'm going to apply my theme because I like my resources to be different colors. And then it's going to say, oh, these 3 objects might be what you're looking for. I'm going to click the one I want. Then it's going to ask me, well, which record type? Y'all, this is getting real granular. And then it's going to ask me which pick list field. Obviously, I'm on opportunity, so duh, I'm going to pick stage. But I could do it for all these various things. And then it's going to go generate that. And while it's doing that, because of time, I'm just going to hop over the one I did yesterday. Same thing.
Basically, you're visualizing your business process and configuration and how they relate to one another with a click.
Yeah, so it spits out for the opportunity, for the CPU record type, for the stage field, what are the ways that can get created, which resources, profiles can do that step, what's happening as that stage changes throughout its life cycle. So, I mean, this is a small one because, again, this is an SDO org, so there's not a whole lot going on. But like I did one on another org, and it was like, you know, like huge. But think about having to try to go document that when you're brand new to an org. So this way I hook up, I go do this as I'm going through my discovery sessions with the client. I don't learn about it during discovery. I'm already way ahead of the game. And I can start making notes, bring back my sticky notes, and it's a game changer. Yeah, I love the sticky notes. One thing I don't have any in here, but if you did have some, whatever, just put one there, you can actually turn them on and off. Oh wait, I grabbed the wrong thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Ah, there you go. Okay, that sticky note, and there you can do colors and whatever. I can turn them on and off. Like Visio or Lucid, if you have sticky notes, and I always do because as I'm figuring out the process, I'm like, oh, go ask the client this or ask the client that. I have to go delete them when I'm done. Here, I just press a button and they're there for all time, but they're also gone if I need them gone, which I like. I don't like how y'all move the button though. It used to be up at the top, but I've already told Tomas that. Anyways,
Okay.
side note, I'm a little vocal when it comes to what I like doing. So here we can see what we looked at earlier, the UPN check. This is what I was telling you about that we're going to talk to, who about. Anyways, if I want to make this change, I can just click, yep, that's a good idea. It's going to update my diagram. Agent Finder, same stuff we saw, but they're just a little bit more meat on the bones here. But you can kind of see. I think there was one, that one. Okay, you don't need an agent, just the flow. All right, I think let me double check my little notes here. Yeah, I think we're good to go there. Let me go back to the presentation.
Any questions while we're here? Nothing?
So, okay. Oh, wait, I'm on the wrong. So Ed, oh. Yeah, there's a connector for Jira already in there. And then if you want to connect other stuff, from what I understand, it's fairly easy. There's like webhooks. It's also a connector to Pato. And I think,
And then also
Azure.
Yes.
Okay. I know they're working on other ones, but if they're not there, it's pretty simple.
All right.
Yeah. So do you want to go into the video or do you want to speak to the agent?
All right. How many folks talk to them and then I want to the video.
Okay.
How many folks are writing agents, creating agents? Anybody? Okay, cool. All right.
Wait, before you go into it, one thing I should note, even though Elements is specific to Salesforce, the agent designer is not, or Finder.
Right.
That's agnostic. So if you're using some other AI, you can still use Elements. And the agent stuff is free.
Okay, so there was the presentation.
Oh, sorry. My bad. I'm sorry.
No problem whatsoever. Okay, so when you go to writing agents, create, when you come up here, so you're not, when you go to writing agent, creating agents. It's an iterative process. You write your, LLM, large language, whatever. And then you, an agent force, you send it over, and you see what it does, okay? I'd say 9 times out of 10, the outcomes aren't what you want them to be. So you need to iterate. And the way to iterate that paradigm is to read what you just wrote. I don't know about you folks, but if I write something and it's all screwed up, I'm gonna read it and say, hey, this is great. Because it's me. Not me, but it's, you know. Now what you can do is take the text and create an if-then diagram. And quite frankly, your grandmother just look at it and say, no, that box belongs here, that box belongs there, this arrow here, and then redo it, and you're getting closer to the outcomes. Salesforce is having an issue with that. Go on our website, visibly. That professional services folks have spent 7 weeks trying to iterate an agent, just one agent. There were like 3 people on it. They saw this that afternoon. It was taken care of. They knew, I mean, they went through so many different iterations and they remembered. Like Anya said, it is the agent designer portion without the metadata is complementary instead of free. If you say free, people don't see the value. It's complementary. It's that better. But now I lost my train of thought. Okay, I'm there somewhere. But I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
About well, you want to do the video? Or
Yeah, I'll put that in a second, but we have a video, much better representation of how this is done. Anyway, we got train of thought.
We were showing how Salesforce utilized that.
Oh, right, I'm sorry, okay. If you go to our website, on the top, there's a link, and it'll show you how at Salesforce Professional Services, they did a presentation at TDX, I think, that showed that we're now able to phone out agents a lot quicker and more accurate and more reliable, and it's all
documented.
it's documented, and you have snapshots of all the different agents, and you have you know what to change. And now the video. It's a lot simpler. Thank you. Save my life. Okay.
Oh wait. And that is as loud as I could get it, y'all. Oh, it's not sharing right. Well, this click thingy is temperamental at best. Well, at least with a Mac. Okay, well, this is not working. Let me try it one more time. Teams. No, there we go. Okay, well, it worked earlier.
What's that working?
No.
Let's see.
So apparently, click.
I'll send everybody here.
Yeah. Well, we'll provide the thing. It's not on Teams. No, I couldn't use Teams on here. It didn't like Mac Teams and click. So I'm not on Teams at all. No. Well, I'm on my phone, but anyways. Yeah, it's only like a 2-minute video.
Yeah,
So-
actually, if you don't mind, I'll give you a bunch of videos to go through. And I'm thinking 2 seconds because it's a template. So,
Yeah. And we do have some reference as well built into here. So like we didn't, oh, hello, I thought I was sharing already. There we go.
we didn't go into it. We did go over process configuration mining, but elements of CPU, that's freaking. I didn't demo that. There's a video on that basically, for those of you who know CPQ, it's gonna tell you what's happening between your pricing waterfall and like when different things are hitting, right? Because, you know, like price rules hitting.
And it gives you a diagram.
Yeah, it does some other stuff too, but
Anyways, but there'll be more reference at the end of this. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about was the certification process.
yes. One of them. Yeah.
Okay.
So the certification process, there's 3 different levels. The first one is open book after you go through training. It's about 8 hours of training, but they're like 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there, 10. So that you can kind of do it with a break. It's online. I think and it's like multiple choice. Again, open book. They encourage you. They feel like that's a way to actually learn. So you can have your little playground elements open, help yourself in the specialists. So, not too bad. That's the first level. And then the second level, you need using elements.
I think it's the minimum of 3 months.
Yeah, you want to like done something because this is an actual practical. So they give you an element space with the board connected that they, you know, jack some stuff up in. They give you a couple of diagrams that are like not quite right, and you have to fix the diagrams, and you have to go and kind of pass the order and, you know, document favorite things that you found. Like basically pretend they're your client and like you're doing the read out. And then you go in front of the panel, you do it, and if they want you to fix something, you have to come back and do something. It's actually really enjoy it. And then the last one, you have to use element, obviously you have the search, that's a year. And I don't think, this is a new certification program, so no one has that yet. I will get it first. Ready, talk to Roger about that. But anyway, so that is a written exam, again, open book, a little bit more advanced, and then I guess a bigger panel. I think there's still a way.
Still involved.
Yeah.
And also actually taking class and taking tests without being required to do so. We're starting to see some job requirements where it says elements of a plus,
Yeah.
which is great. And we're very, at 3 of us, we have, I think, 2, maybe 3 sessions.
Yeah, it was actually, before it was just myself and Erica Hayes, we both have the professional level. Elements. We actually worked with elements and CGI first became partners. And then my brother in the audience, he recently got his first serve. And
Go ahead.
um,
So my name is Michael Johnson. I'm a work for CGI as well as a functional Salesforce consultant. And one thing that I really think about elements is almost every discovery I've ever been on at CGI, you already know what you've got a solution. You're not really listening to it. And so what this does is, because we have a lot of very talented, smart people, sometimes you got to take a step back and say, what do they really need? And what Elements allows you to do is really understand what the client needs because of where they're at in their work. I just came coming off of a project with the lifting ship, extreme, right? And if we would have had Elements before that, we would have known they were using Salesforce Cloud, for example, recently. They had leads for the opportunity. So why? They weren't even using Salesforce.
They weren't understanding the sales process and how things.
And so what it does, is it then guess that would happen. That's going to probably allow us to communicate. Oh, by the way, it might be best if we build it for you instead of listening. So anyway, but yeah, I think it's great, really neat, especially driving volume. Background is from the computer work. You're doing it like you did 6 months ago, Barney. That was when we grew like crazy in the mind. But anyway, so far I love Elements. They're very dependable. You can get in touch with them. A lot applaud you. See.
Thank you.
And a big round of applause. He motivated us.
No, I would basically say, I'll know that get this certification. Good job, by the way.
Did you audience? Is that what we're talking about on the? It's on platform. Yeah, and then you look up the capture onto it, and then it syncs the metadata, not the data.
Doesn't touch data, doesn't look at data.
Yeah, so let me know if y'all, there's gonna be links to your. I mean, it's free, check free, so like.
Okay, here.
You're trying to
Go
get-
ahead.
It's non-proctored.
Right, the first one's not proctored, it's open. Okay, I think we're almost at time, so we have some swag giveaways. First, should we do our?
Oh, the, either one, do you want to? Do you have questions?
Any questions?
We do swag, and then if people want to save their questions, because I don't want other folks to be late.
Yeah. The reveal of swag going while we're finishing up. So our first winner of some swag is Glenn L. All right. Next is Bruda A. She left, okay. The next one, Steva K. S-I-V-A. Next is Ramesh C. Okay, Dan. What, okay. Okay, our next winner is Perfect D.
Yay.
Next winner is Julie H.
Yay.
Next is Chris D. Douglas. Bill, you already left.
Where'd he go? Okay. Yay.
Say it. Meg. That's the last name.
Yay.
I apologize. Abinant.
All right, we have one more if Allie wants to go grab it. We got one more.
One more. Yeah, we have one more for our.
What am I showing? All right. So we have one more just to thank Ed for flying. Yes, you. We have a thank you for you for coming all the way down here to Louisiana. We appreciate you. It's very necessary. It's food. It's necessary. thank you guys for coming. I hope you guys learned something, take something from it. Ed will be here for any questions if you have any. Otherwise, please enjoy your day, weekend, life, and we'll see y'all next time. Thanks, guys. Oh yeah, sure. We can do a group picture.